Hello. Welcome back to another video. If you are new to my channel, my name is Nicole and I sell vintage home decor on Etsy. In today's video, I am going to be sharing with you everything that sold from my Etsy shop in the month of October. I'm going to share not only my profit for the entire month, but also every single item that sold and my profit margins on each item. This last month or so has been kind of insane for me in my personal life. As I've mentioned many times at this point, I just recently moved from Florida to North Carolina. So that was a big move, and I haven't really talked much about this, but bringing my inventory, which is currently around 300 to 400 items, bringing all of that stuff from Florida to North Carolina was pretty insane. A lot of the stuff is fragile, so it took a lot of time to pack that stuff and bring it all up. Toward the end of September, I put my shop on a 4-week processing time for all of my items. So instead of closing it down and putting it on vacation mode, people still had the option to purchase items from my shop, but their items would be delayed to ship by about 4 weeks. Typically, I get my items shipped out in 1 to 2 days. I did get about 20 orders over the kind of 4-week time period that my shop was on a delay. I took pretty much the last week of September to pack up all my items. It took them about a week to ship up. I got like a U-Haul U-Box, and then it took me another 2 weeks to unpack everything and get it all organized into my new storage space. So yeah, my profits this month were pretty low, but I'm still going to go through everything with you. And I like being as transparent as possible so that anyone who's trying to do Etsy full time or get away from their job or do something else on the side can have a realistic understanding of how much money they can make. The first item that I sold this month was a great sale. I sold this Florentine wooden wall shelf. Florentine items can be pretty valuable. I had found a bunch at an estate sale and they were all wooden opposed to like a plastic or resin material, so that increases value as well. I purchased this wooden wall shelf for $12. I sold it for $125 and I made a total profit of $80.39. Keep in mind that my total profit is excluding shipping costs, fees, and cost of the item. So it is just completely 100% profit. Next up, I sold this wooden apple with a little brass stem. I purchased this from a thrift store for $3.20. I sold it for $28 and made a profit of $21.46. Next up, I sold this vintage brass owl figurine. This item I got off of Mercari for $12.93. I sold it for $30 and made a profit of $13.54. Next, I sold this ceramic Cocker Spaniel dog planter. This had been sitting in my antique booth for a really long time, and then as soon as I put it on Etsy, it sold pretty much right away. I purchased it at a thrift store for $3. I sold it for $32 and made a total profit of $25.54. Next, I sold this white ceramic dove. I got this for $1 at the Salvation Army. I sold it for $18 and made a profit of $14.33. Next up, I sold this brass candle snuffer. I got this at an antique mall for $8.56. I sold it for $24 and made a profit of $14.03. Next, I sold this Victorian portrait trinket box. This item took forever to sell, which really surprised me because I thought it was a beautiful piece. I got it from a thrift store for $8. I sold it for $34 and made a profit of $21.63. Next up, I sold this hand-painted Portuguese pottery vase. I got this one from a thrift store for $5.35. I sold it for $35 and made a profit of $20.80. Next, I sold this set of hammered copper mugs. I got these from a thrift store a while ago, probably a year ago. My fiance actually convinced me to buy them. I didn't think they were particularly special, but he thought they were cool, so I got them. I paid $12 for them. I sold them for $26 and made a profit of $9.99. So I didn't make a whole lot from that sale, but I was happy to recoup the costs and get them out of my inventory space. Next up, I sold this little tiny Armenian pottery pitcher. I unfortunately did not put this item into my spreadsheet, so I'm just estimating that I got it for $3. I sold it for $22 and made a profit of $15.23. Next, I sold this vintage wooden footstool. I got this for $10 at an antique mall. I sold it for $65 and made a profit of $47.20. Next up, I sold this brass wall sconce. I got these sconces back in April. I got 2 of them. So I found them at a thrift store for $25 each. I got both of them for 50 bucks. $25 is a lot to pay for a single item, but I knew that they were worth more than that. Sure enough, similar sconces had sold for a pretty high price in the past. So I listed them for $195 each. I actually got a lot of interest in these sconces. I had multiple people messaging me asking to do slightly lower or a slight discount, but honestly I was not willing to go down on the price too much because they were a more rare piece and people love brass, they love wall decor. I knew if I waited around for the right buyer that I would be able to sell these pieces at this price point. So one of them sold this past month. As I mentioned, I purchased it for $25, sold it for $195, and made a profit of $148.42. Next, I sold this brass unicorn bell. I got this for $5.35 from an antique mall. I sold it for $28 and made a profit of $20.97. Next up, I sold this abacus. I got this piece at a thrift store for $1. I sold it for $42 and made a profit of $35.96. Next up, I sold this owl plate. I, at this point, would highly recommend that you don't pick up plates. I've picked up a lot of them over my time on Etsy and they just don't sell. So when this one sold, I was pretty excited to get rid of it. I purchased this plate from a thrift store for 75 cents. I sold it for $20 and made a profit of $16.19. Next up, I sold this wooden duck figurine. I purchased this at a thrift store for $2.25. I sold it for $22 and made a profit of $16.27. Next, I sold these brass Scottish Terrier bookends. I loved these bookends and I was honestly pretty surprised at how long it took for them to sell. I think I had them in my shop for probably around 6 months. They sold pretty recently and it was kind of strange because I had been unpacking my inventory in this new house and everything was downstairs, but the Scottish Terrier bookends were upstairs and I had them sitting here on this kitchen countertop and I was just sitting there staring at them, thinking about how pretty they were. And then I got a notification on my phone and I looked and they sold right in that moment. So that was kind of wild. I got those from an antique mall thrift store kind of hybrid place for $17.11. I sold them for $58. I actually had them originally at like $72 and I kept marking them down. And I made a profit of $34.33. Next, I sold this train cross stitch. I got this from a thrift store for $7.50. I sold it for $40 and made a profit of $27.31. Next up, I sold this copper sun wall hanging. When I first got this piece, I got it at an antique mall and I strongly considered keeping it because I love celestial decor and celestial motifs. But I ended up listing it and it was purchased by a lovely, very kind subscriber. And she shared a review on my shop with a little photo and she has it hanging above her kitchen oven, which I just thought was so lovely. I have this butterfly piece hanging above my oven and it's a piece that I really treasure. My sister sister got it for me. So I felt honored for the son to go in such a special spot. I got this piece at an antique mall for $16.05. I sold it for $48 and made a profit of $25.72. Next, I sold this brass and cast iron mini cannon. I actually have 2 more of these if anyone is interested in having a mini cannon in their life. I got this at a thrift store for $1.98. I sold it for $30 and made a profit of $24.12. Next up, I sold this Mexican tin mirror, which I showed in my unboxing video. You're about to see that I ended up selling a lot of stuff from that haul, which was great. But this piece I got off of Mercari for $25.81. I thought it was going to be much better quality than it was. It ended up being flimsier and thinner than I expected. So I priced it at $38. Those Mexican tin mirrors can go for upwards of $70. So I marked it lower just because it was more lightweight and not as heavy as I expected, and I made sure to very thoroughly note that in the listing description and show it in the video. But yes, I priced it at $38 and made a profit of $7.22. So not a huge profit, but I was happy to recoup the cost of the item. Next, I sold this mini oil painting of a mountain landscape. This piece was so adorable. I got it off of eBay for $9.90. I sold it for $42 and made a profit of $27.08. Next, I sold this brass bird dish. I got this from Mercari for $26.75. I sold it for $55 and made a profit of $14.82. This is an item that I did not make a huge profit on, but I just thought it was so pretty when I saw it on Mercari, and I knew that it would sell, and I just wanted to have it in my shop. I do that sometimes with pieces that I think are cool or special. Even if I know I'm not going to make a ton off of them, it's still fun to pick them up and put them in my shop. Next, I sold this mini brass Christmas tree. This I got off of Mercari for $9.97. I sold it for $28 and made a profit of $15.29. Next up, I sold this floral oil painting, which was also from Mercari. I paid $11.82 for it. I sold it for $85 and made a profit of $61.32. Next up, I sold this mini brass Santa figurine. I got this piece from Mercari for $9.97. It came in a little bundle with the other Christmas tree that I just showed you a few items ago. I sold it for $28 and made a profit of $14.30. Next, I sold this little barn oil painting. I purchased it off of eBay for $9.09. I sold it for $42 and made a profit of $27.01. Next up is this Moroccan ashtray that I got at a thrift store for $4.81. I sold it for $38 and made a profit of $28.08. Next, I sold this Studio Craft Japan sugar bowl. I got this piece from the thrift store for $3.98. I sold it for $25 and made a profit of $19.06. Next, I sold this brass whale, which actually was purchased together with the sugar bowl. I got this one from eBay for $13.06. This was another item from my unboxing video. I sold it for $42 and made a profit of $25.36. Next, I sold this glass brass trinket box. I got this from the Salvation Army for 99 cents. I sold it for $38 and made a profit of $33.75. And lastly, I sold this beautiful vanity mirror that I got from an antique mall for $35, which was a steal, by the way. It was huge. I don't know if you can tell in the photos, but it's about this big. I sold it for $110. It sold very quickly and I made a profit of $57.88. So those are all of the items I sold. Let's go ahead and add up my total profits for the month. In the month of October, my profit, excluding shipping, sales tax, cost of the item, etc. My grand total profit for October was, drumroll please, $964.62. So as I mentioned, October was a crazy month for me. I moved from Florida to North Carolina. I brought all my inventory with me. I was also in my final term of my first term in grad school. So that was busy and I had some big assignments. But yeah, all things considered, I'm pretty happy with this number. It's amazing to be able to make that much money doing Etsy, which is just purely fun and enjoyable. So hopefully I will be sharing a larger number with you next month. We'll see what November brings. We'll see if the holiday shopping starts to pick up. If you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, I post new videos every single week and I do these videos every single month, and I would love to have you if you're interested in subscribing. I really enjoy reading your guys' comments. Thank you to everyone who's been welcoming me to my new state of North Carolina where I'm living. I also have gotten quite a few nice emails and messages on Etsy, people asking for tips or just saying hi, and that's been pretty cool. So thank you very much to anyone who's ever subscribed or liked my videos or left a comment. It really does mean a lot to me. Thanks for being here with me, and I will see you in the next video.